Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the council study session for February 4th of 2025. Have the agendas in front of you. Welcome those who are participating both in the room and those who are observing with our live stream. Council, I would like to ask for an amendment to the agenda by removing item number 4 from our discussion tonight. That is, I'm just not prepared yet to bring that information, so we'll delay that until a March
Okay,
study session meeting.
we might want to amend this too, because it's not 2025, it's 2026.
Did I?
Who
did I-
typed
did I read
that
this
up, Joey?
25?
And you said 2025, you read what was there.
Good call. It actually is the study session for February 4th, 2026. Ryan, do we need a formal motion to amend that agenda? We're okay
No,
just to
I
leave it off.
actually think probably rather than an amendment, we just, when we get there, we say, we'll just leave this for another day.
Thank you. Our first item of general business, and I'm excited for this. I had the opportunity to meet Sean probably 60 days ago. He invited me to go to lunch with him and had a great conversation with him. We seem to have similar passions and alignments, and I hope to bring those visions and ideas to the city of Chubbuck as much as possible. So I reached out and invited him to just come and share his organizations, and I say that plural because I think he's involved with more than one, and have a discussion with the council about what opportunities there may be for us to partner with Sean, to use his resources, to support his vision on behalf of the city of Chubbuck. So that's the introduction I have for you. You can take the floor, please, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you kind of took my thunder there because I was going to say how much I really enjoyed meeting Mayor Birch, just because we were really aligned. I talked about active lifestyles and how that really affects the community in terms of health. And he informed me, I rode my bike, I think for 18 months, if I remember right, to work. And I was like, man, this guy we're cut from the same cloth. So it was great. So, stop me, ask me questions, whatever. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Health Trust, a little bit about what we're about, and then hopefully you can ask and sort of we can accommodate whatever your thoughts are. So quickly, our mission statement at the Health Trust is to improve the health of Bannock County and surrounding areas. And so that's something that we take very seriously, and we talk about that all the time. And when I think about that, I always think about when we're making an investment in health in the community, I'm always asking myself, there's a little voice in the back of my head saying, what health impact are we buying by investing in something, right? So we're very deliberate and also pretty disciplined around that as well. The Health Trust is an initiative-driven, so what we are and what we're not. The Health Trust is an initiative-driven company, meaning we seek the things that we want to accomplish. We look at health data around our community and our country. We try to address it, and then we seek to use our resources to both build and operationalize those successes. We are not a grant-making agency. We're deliberate in what we do. Now, we want to make sure that we respond to needs in our community through different organizations. And so we have created a partnership with United Way, and we give them a pretty good sized gift every year. It usually accommodates and funds most of their healthcare requests each year. So that's a way for us to partner. It's a great way to have a centralized approach to the community rather than having people come to us and to them. They go to the United Way, they can get some funding, and it allows them to move forward. The other thing is the Health Trust, those of you that have been around for a little bit of time, and I know you have, the Health Trust did a merger years ago with what was Legacy Health Partners, now is Ardent, to own and govern Portneuf Medical Center. And so that's another one of our roles that we have. And so we take that serious as too. We can never dilute ourselves from that organization. And we always want, one of our strategic initiatives is to maintain and potentially purchase up some of the shares in that organization. We can't do what we did years ago, and we want to make sure that we do that. To that end, both for community health and to value the relationship with Portneuf and to buy up shares and ownership in Portneuf, we have developed an extremely robust, strong balance sheet. Really strong balance sheet, very unique in the world, really in the country. So we have some resources, and we're going to spend some of those resources to make the community healthier. That would get me to one of our greatest initiatives, and where I think felt like you and I were really aligned, was a project that we call Healthy City USA. You guys heard of that? Okay, so Healthy City USA, there's just in easy terms, we wanted to look at why were people dying early in America? People dying are typically, so you can look that vital statistic up and it typically will say something. Number one is always going to be heart disease. Well, not always, but typically in communities, that's pretty much number one. Then you're going to have cancer, stroke, and oftentimes lower respiratory disease. And then below those, after those first four or so, then they can kind of, they change a little bit, but typically those are the top four. Okay, what causes heart disease, cancer, stroke? Physical inactivity, right? And poor nutrition, okay? So we started to say, okay, healthcare people, one of the things we do is we look around and say, okay, who does this the best? Who does the best surgery? Who has the best outcomes? So we looked around the world and said, where are the healthiest communities? Well, if you all familiar with blue zones? I know you are.
With what?
Blue zones? Yes. So blue zones are actually, the reason they're called blue zones was just because of on the spreadsheet, the area was actually colored blue, and they were going, what about those blue zones? But blue zones are really where people live. They have the greatest health and lifespans in the world. Guess what those commonalities are? They're active in their life. They eat really a whole food, kind of a Mediterranean diet that's really based on longevity foods. Okay, so those are the things that they do. And then the other thing we discovered is they connect with each other. Okay, so that's really some of the real big principal things that we're going to invest in. So we have actually created a couple of programs. By the way, give me this if I'm going.
For clarity, there are no blue zones in the United States.
There is a blue zone in the United States, Loma Linda.
Okay.
Loma Linda, California. The reason why Loma Linda is a blue zone, at least theoretically, is it's Seventh-day Adventists. Seventh-day Adventists are, my understanding is they're vegetarian. They eat a lot of vegetables. They're active in their community, and they all go to church. This is another, hard to hear in today's world, but people that go to church live between 4 and 14 years longer than people that don't. That's more than smoking or not smoking. That's how big a deal that is.
Because a sense of community, belonging.
That's what the thought is, that sort of sense of connection. And that's why we added that as our third pillar, or something we didn't see here in this. And how are we doing with that, by the way? I guess I can't ask questions.
With connectivity?
Well, I'm saying with actually connecting with each other and getting together and sort of doing the things that we used to do. It's one of the YDC, the youth development people, called their kids vampires because they live in the basement and don't see the sun. I thought that was kind of funny, but we've kind of become that way, and we've got to reverse that together. So when I speak to you in these terms, I want to make sure that you're understanding we're looking at you as valued partners in this initiative. A big thing for us that when I was talking to Mayor Birch too was how do we both plan for new like greenway trails and walking corridors, and how do we find a way to maintain current ones? We started a thing called the Legacy Partner Program. We have a couple of people that gave us a pretty good contribution. We have matched that contribution. And I think we're trying to come to the city with that resource of saying, we're going to start investing in some both maintenance of those walkable places. I'm calling them greenway trails I'm hoping that's all encompassing. How do we plan for those? And then how do we also plan to build new ones in a smart way? This is where Mayor Birch is good, in a really good, well-planned, smart way that delivers a really good thing for our community. We don't want to be involved in choosing where they go. We don't know. We don't have any idea. We know that somebody that's smarter than us can put those together. And we think the most vibrant and healthy communities in the world have walkable, bikeable, and runnable pathways to connect the community. So those are just kind of some of those big things that we work on. what have I missed? Because I was kind of hustling through here. I know
Consuming it again, Sean, so I don't know.
so anyway, I just wanted to tell you those things. We have a good balance sheet. We want to partner with people. We have initiatives that we set out. Trails are a big initiative for us, that connecting that community. Think of us as a partner. We'd like to think about it, that you guys value that too. And when we're looking, typically, by the way, let me retract this a little bit. When our donors had given us a little bit of money and we matched that money, we have about $500,000 and this, we haven't even really started really yet. They want the cities to sort of have some skin in the game too. So they want maybe kind of a one-to-one match. And our thought is, and a good question by Mayor Birch was, can we use our people and our equipment as part of that match? Absolutely. It's just trying to find how do we move forward together as partners. So those are things that we're going to continue to look at and things we're going to strongly invest in. So we hope you see that as a big resource. Not a lot of communities come and say, we're going to have an organization like this. We're excited to be here with you and we're excited about that opportunity.
Yeah. Sean, I don't know, I've mentioned this to Mayor Birch and even a couple times in meetings here. My daughter and her family live down in Spanish Fork, Utah. I don't know if you're familiar with Spanish Fork, but I go down there regularly. They have a trail system that is absolutely phenomenal. And I go down there and ride bike and walk down there every time I go for miles and miles. I don't even know how many miles this covers. And that is something I've kind of talked about. That's something I'd like to see here. I mean,
well, I actually think I've been in those communities and that's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
And I think that's that opportunity I think we have with Mayor Birch and you all as well, is how do we, because there really hasn't been a comprehensive plan. I was telling him that I went to Moscow. My son went to school there for a little bit and I came out of his little student apartment, went for a walk on their greenway through the university. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And I went the other way. And then I kept walking and walking. And then so I went back and I looked on the internet and that trail goes all the way from Troy, if you're familiar with Troy, all the way to Colfax, Washington. And they have all these different entities that have partnered together to make that work. And because they have partnered together to make it work, they get every grant that's out there. And so I think that's that opportunity that we have together if we find ways to work. And, people like that strength. They like the health trust, the city, the county, the other city. They like that stuff and they want to invest. By the way, we like that stuff and we want to invest too. So those are things we're very optimistic about and excited about.
Other thoughts or questions for Sean?
Just a thought, Sean. I mean, because you got all these entities, whether it be Chubbuck, Pokey, the county. And I had this conversation with Commissioner Huff a few months ago. Actually, it's more of a conversation he had with then Councilmember Cheatham. The county had extra money for the Port Enough, to clearing the greenway down there and so forth. And I found that you need one, in my opinion, you need one clearinghouse for all these entities, all these government entities to come to, and they can spread the wealth out, for lack of better words. Who's the volunteer? Port Enough Greenway, I think it is.
Right.
Okay. If, for example, I don't know why those two gentlemen didn't talk to them about projects. We can have them as a clearing way, for lack of better words. That's a project we can get into or contribute to. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think that's smart thinking. I mean, that's your world. I mean, that's what we're trying to inspire you all to, is to say, how do we do this together? How do we come together? And I think, we had an opportunity to meet with both mayors and then also Commissioner Bullock and also a guy, well, you guys would know Devin Hillam. I was going to say a gentleman by Devin Hillam. I think you all know him. Super talented guy that's in the, works for Bannock Planning now. And it might be a good thing to have Devin be the guy that develops the plan, and could be maybe, somebody had brought up the idea of a co-op. I think what you're talking about though is necessary, is to have somebody that's coordinates, and I don't know how you feel, Mayor Birch, but somebody that kind of coordinates and sort of can put this together. But I think you'll find really, really good results with that approach.
And I think actually talked with Devin about the same thing. Again, because I suggested when I use Port Enough as a clearinghouse for all these entities, because we got projects and just that conversation that Commissioner Huff and Councilman Cheatham had, those entities were not talking. One had money, one had people looking for projects or wanting projects. So
Well, it's a new day with new leaders.
Mhm.
So hopefully hopefully you guys are supporting him. I think that he's got a really, from my perspective, I'm super pumped about him, as you can kind of tell, just because our ethos, I think, is very similar. So anyway, so excited about that. So I think that's a good point, though, is you've got to find a way to collaborate.
Mhm.
And that is kind of, that's above my pay grade
Mhm.
for the municipalities to figure that out. But I'm hoping to inspire it, get the right people,
Mhm.
and that you guys can help create it. And then we'll try to help fund it with you.
What's the process of getting funding through you guys? Is it like, we just come talk to you? Is there a whole?
Well, again, we're not, what we are and what we're not is we're an initiative-driven company where we figure out what health work outcome we try to buy. I still listen to everybody, so we don't really make grants. But
Okay.
a lot of my ideas, like the Good Place, it's going to take too much time to talk about the Good Place, is an amalgamation of many people. First of all, it's health data. It's things we have observed, and it's an amalgamation of all kinds of things that people have spoken to me about over the years. So, and then also things like community health needs assessments. So I'm always open to talk about it, but we're not really that kind of funder. So
Okay.
but my point is, one of the initiatives that we care about and we are going to invest in is trails.
Okay.
So Greenway Trail. So you don't even have to come. I'm
Partner.
ready to go.
More of a partner than like giving grants or.
Right, right.
Okay.
I've envisioned the relationship, they have a very clear mission. If there's something in our community that aligns with their mission, we can become funding partners with them to the
Yes.
benefit of both entities.
We will continue to talk to everybody. And I think that's how we start to become aware of it. We start to think, what would be the first question I would ask when you come? I told you, what health outcome would we buy by investing in this? How does this fit into our broader strategy? We're much more simple than it looks like. That those healthy city pillars are going to be key to us. How do we do physical activity that affects the whole population? How do we do whole food nutrition? And how do we connect people? Those are going to be those big questions that I'm going to ask. So I'm very simple, not complicated.
Sean, can you expand on the legacy program? What's the timing? Is that in place, the maintenance legacy piece? I don't know, did you guys fully understand that his legacy?
Yeah, I kinda
program
covered
was
it real quick.
Really focused about maintenance of facilities.
I see
rather
that
than
also
improvement.
expanding. So the first fund that we created, we had a donor that was going to contribute to a different agency. And I said, well, how would you feel about if you contributed to the health trust? We'll restrict that money for this specific use, but we'll also match it with our own, whatever you contribute, we'll do it again. And I think this donor has the ability to do this a number of different times. And so we had a couple of donors do that. So they put in a good chunk of money, and then we matched it with our own chunk of money, restrict it for maintenance for the trails in our community. That's really everybody. The other idea I have that I think has legs is we'd like to create a fund just like that. It'd be a sort of a sister fund that if somebody contributes and wants to build or fund a new trail, we would contribute to that in the same way. Now, typically in the Greenway, what we've done in Pocatello and Chubbuck in our community is somebody is given money, maybe $50,000 or $100,000. We get a trail built, and the person who funds that names it after their family or something, or after their, some in memory of someone. We don't care about that. So that's another thing we're saying. Hey, if you say you give us $100,000, we'll match it with $100,000, and you can name it after your family. Just doesn't matter to us. So we think that's another piece that we're going to invest in as well.
Great, thank you.
The St. George Trail System is that way. I mean, all the cities down there are involved. And I think you could probably get from the edge of Washington clear to the edge of Santa Clara, which St. George is in the middle of those. But they do have a lot of portions that have signs that are businesses or families.
Yeah, I guess for us, it just doesn't matter, but we're excited about somebody else naming it for their family or their business. Yeah. And we think hopefully that inspires them to action as well. That's kind of our purpose. But folks, as we innovate, as we think how we move our community forward, you're the leaders too. So how do we approach this together? That's really our focus. So.
Did I understand you correctly that, when you have an amalgamation of different governmental entities, that whatever that would be, would qualify for funding, grant funding from the.
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
gov-
no, that's a good question. I don't know that it makes it stronger in every circumstances, but in most circumstances, people think, well, that's a group that's got it together. Look how they're partnering. Look how they work together. That's going to be a successful. They have a plan. Think about if you were investing your money. Isn't that what you would want? You say, man, that's the group I want. That's the group we're going to invest in. And that's typically what's happened.
Good. And the reason I asked that is because my understanding is Chubbuck's population base is too small for a lot of grants. And no, it's not small enough for some. We're kind of stuck in the middle and we're not large enough for others. And so that would be a real appeal to me if multiple agencies can, or county and state, local, whatever, can get together and, you know, qualify for something like that.
Well, people like Ryan can figure out the vehicle. Like, how do we, what, is it a co-op? Is it a,
Mhm.
Ryan helped me with a wellness complex years ago to representing the city of Chubbuck, trying to figure this out. So I was glad to see him. I said, Ryan, we've survived. We're both still alive and still here. Still kicking. Yeah, but that is a really positive thing that affects big funders. Love that kind of cooperation.
Council, other questions at all?
I don't think I have any more.
Ryan? Give-
Honestly, I think it's one of those things where.
I'll say it.
Creativity. Those are tough things.
The last piece about the trails, I'm deviating just a little bit, but a number of years ago, we had looked at, the Forest Service brought in a thing called the Trail Cat that create these urban interface trails. And what I mean by those are like trails that go up in the hills. And you probably saw some of those in American Fork or Spanish Fork?
Spanish Fork.
Spanish Fork, where there's trails to interface in the hills too. So, you know, we started to think of how we could do that. So a number of years, the city of Pocatello came and said, actually they came and said, and we kind of said, would you do this? So we bought a couple of pieces of equipment. One is a little tiny mini excavator. And the other one is a little Toro Dingo. Does anybody know what a Toro Dingo is? It's kind of like a little, you kind of ride on it like that, you step on the back,
Yeah.
and it has a little like bucket that you can lift dirt on. And it does other things too. But anyway, the point in the two pieces of equipment was that it would create some capacity to build those urban interface trails that are more accessible. I'm not talking about handicap accessible, but more accessible to young kids and to seniors, and they're built in more maintenance-free way. So instead of, you know, Mayor Birch and I riding our bikes, just making a trail that goes up in the hills like this and right in, and then, you know, the next year it's starting to wash out because it swells back and forth. And I know they're very cooperative, and actually they rent it. But if you have a good urban interface that you need to use that equipment, we're looking to pay for some of the operator hours and the maintenance, the cost of operating that equipment in those places. So that's another piece that if you'll think about too, how do we, all these great trails that we create, and then how do we create those to interface with our lovely mountains and foothills? So last thing, so
Thank you so much for,
thank you all. Good to see you all, and pleasure to meet you, and good to see the rest of you.
Thanks,
Take
Sean.
care.
Chit Sean.
Yep.
Item agenda number 2 is an update. It says update on the 250 celebration event. Are you aware of the 250 celebration event before we update you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We've titled it appropriately then. Go ahead, Joey, please.
Yeah.
Joey's filling in for Wendy, I should say that.
Yeah. So Wendy and the group are working on putting together an event. They will apply for a grant through the state by the end of this month for $2,500 to pay for this event. But they pretty much have to plan the whole event. They're going to have to bring a resolution at your next meeting, have the council adopt before they can submit that grant application. But the event that they're planning, that they like to do July 1st, have hot dogs and apple pie, The library and some of the schools are going to do kind of a walk through and then have some chalk art and competitions around City Hall. So she just wanted you to have that date. If you have any ideas or things to help improve it. They're kind of looking similar to like our city holiday, something similar to that, just here at City Hall.
That is a council meeting night, but she's pretty committed that that needs to be the day, so we may just adjust the council meeting, different date, different time, but that is a council meeting night. She probably did that to make sure we were all here, actually.
Yeah.
That
She
is our
has,
council meeting.
she has us serving hot dogs and apple pie, so kudos to Wendy.
Yeah.
So you're aware, she has reached out and there are members of our community that are helping facilitate this celebration. It's not just being done in-house with staff.
Awesome.
Great. I think it's something we need to do.
Tell her to let us know if she needs, what she needs from us as council.
Wear your apron and serve hot dogs, huh?
I'll do it. Oh, she has us assigned to that, the hot.
Yes.
dogs. Okay, I see that. Okay. Okay. Well, anything beforehand that she needs that we can help with will be available.
We'll let her know.
Okay.
Number 3 is along the similar lines. Agenda item 3, the discussion on upcoming city events. This is also listed on that same handout relative to movies in the park. Joey, let me speak to that and you chime in if I miss something. After last year's experience with movies in the park, the Lemons indicated they were done doing movies in the park. And Wendy, bless her heart, with a little bit of encouragement, has recruited them to come and participate again. And they've said they would do that, but not consecutive weeks back to back. So they're looking at doing 3 movies, July 10th, 24th, and then August 7th, which is the Friday before our Chubbuck Days event.
Okay.
I think Wendy's goal with the council is just to nod of your head that that's a tremendous activity in our community that we want to continue to pursue.
Yes.
Yes, for sure. Did things not go well last year? Or is it just too overwhelming to do it?
I think there was a struggle with some interface between the city and the Lemons. Wendy hadn't done this for a couple years and they love Wendy as
Okay.
as part of it.
Okay.
So yeah, she has been able to sign them up again.
Okay. Awesome.
Also, the consecutive weeks, it pretty much took their whole summer because it takes their whole family
To do it.
to do it. And so I think the family was kind of saying, we don't want to give up every Friday. And so I think it was a combination.
And I shouldn't minimize the burden on the city staff to put that together. I mean, there's recruiting vendors and sponsors for each of those things. We do pay for the movies and the royalties, and there's some work to do that in addition to the physical presence the night of those movies. I know Wendy has always expressed she would love it if she had support from the 5 of us.
I remember
those
a few
nights.
years ago, we were recruited to do that. I went to 1 or 2 of them and
Yeah.
Yeah,
kinda
the
wandered
first year,
around
I
and-
think we were assigned to certain nights.
Yeah.
and
we did. And
Helped hand out food and,
we had fun, just, talk with people and visit. I mean, I wandered around there and talked with a lot of people and that was kind of fun actually. And I wouldn't mind taking an assignment again.
She would love to have our participation.
okay.
I'm in.
Yeah.
If it works on my schedule.
Security too. She says it helps to have extra hands for security. Stewart Park's not as bad as Cotan Park was. Cotan had a lot darker areas. Stewart Park's more lit up.
Do we get uniforms?
A plastic badge?
She has.
See, we have these
shirts.
T-shirts with our name on it, or the Chubbuck.
She has shirts that say staff, event staff.
I'll get you a gun, but,
Here's the security expert.
so Joey's informed me that I got to come up to the mic every time, so I'm trying not to bark from back there. But, yeah, I mean, we got options here. we can play it two ways. I can schedule people for overtime for those night events, and where it's not that many this year, I don't think that's a problem. In the past, we've kind of did a little bit of both, like our guys would go if they had the time, and if they were on the call, they wouldn't, but I don't see a problem scheduling these, so.
Great. Thank you,
Good.
Chief.
The bike cops usually showed up, which were helpful.
Okay, we'll let Wendy know that, one, we want to move this forward and we're all willing to participate. As indicated earlier, we'll skip agenda item number 4, move that to a future agenda. That puts us to number 5, the draft fiscal year 25 calendar for the budget, 27. I said 25 again, I think, 27 budget calendar. Eric, if you could speak to that, please.
Well, this is my first time going through it as well too, so I just kind of took some of what we did on the last prior years and put them back together because kind of same, reiterating a little bit different each year. But with the mayor's decisions on some of the stuff here, we really wanted to push a little bit more in February for you guys to be interactive with understanding what's going on with some of the things, hopefully, that we all learn a little bit more. And then to be able to start including our priorities and goals as early as February of what we want to make sure we can accomplish with the budget. There are some key dates on here. One thing would be, we're looking to potentially adopt the tentative budget on July 1st, then the same day as everything else. We have a busy day, it sounds like.
We'll feed them and then
Feed them and then
Feed 'em and vote, huh?
ask for their support.
yeah, then we'll send them the claims for the food. But then we'll have some publication dates for the budget. I did have one caveat that I asked the mayor about there. I have listed on here, the public hearing to be a special meeting on August 12th instead of our regularly scheduled meeting on August 5th, I believe, because I've already booked a vacation that week and kind of want to go. So I was just hoping that this will be a day that no one else has already booked some stuff as well for that in-between week. So we can get that to Joey to publish those that we need to the county.
Yeah. I think we're okay there.
Yeah, I think we're within that.
5
I
week.
think we have about a 2-week buffer at that point still, if I double check the dates on that. So these were scheduled within that time frame. And then any additional city fees that will need to be adjusted, we can do in September as well. So any questions?
Let me comment, and Eric, you may need to chime in here, but the other great thing that Eric's vacation does is it puts us adopting the budget on a different date than we hold the public hearing. And I don't know how council feels about that. I like that scenario, that we're not holding a public hearing from 6 to 7 and then adopting the budget at 7:15.
Yeah.
So it gives us some time to go away and contemplate and value the input that we get from the community.
Yeah, need time
So-
to digest that.
Yeah, this vacation facilitates that effort.
I'll take my
great.
vacation.
That's the
then.
byproduct.
Thanks for doing a
I'll keep
vacation.
it on the books. All right, thank you.
The council can also just move their first meeting to the 12th, if they didn't want to meet on the 5th and then on the 12th. You do have that option as well.
Great. That moves us to agenda item 6, discussion about establishment of a Building and Development Advisory Committee. I hope council is aware this was a big issue to me during campaign to take this position. I remain committed to creation of these committees that act as an advisory role to help improve our processes and our services that we provide to the community. The Building and Development Advisory Committee, it's in front of you in resolution form. We're not adopting that tonight. We We wanted your input to this process, and we'll put this hopefully on the agenda for February 18th. And there's you can create committees formally by ordinance, and that becomes part of our city code. As Ryan and Joey and I talked about this, Ryan had a good point that we really can do this short of the city ordinance piece. Let's see if the framework functions appropriately before we make it code. If that makes sense. The flip side to that is we could accomplish that without, the mayor could do that on his own, but we all felt very strong that we wanted the council's input and support of these committees. And so the tool is to do this by a resolution.
Yeah, these are executive committees. And I guess the mayor's reaching out to see if the council's on board with these types of ideas, and if so, we would at some point adopt a resolution. You do have like your land use and your CDA that are permanent committees created by ordinance. These would be temporary, what you call ad hoc committees, unless that changed at some later date. And the mayor could theoretically just create these, but he's seeking your input. And so that's, these are just ideas for what you guys might like to see in that, if the mayor has these committees, so.
As I read through this, it made a whole lot of sense, and I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm in favor, for sure.
Yeah, it just says they're strictly advisory. There's no authority over departments and whatnot, and you
Yeah.
can't hurt, certainly can't hurt.
So that's one of the concerns about making a formal committee. Sometimes those committees maybe want to step into the role of an elected official more than, more than from a policy standpoint, I think they should. And so these ad hoc committees are advisory only. And so the mayor would make invitations to sit on the committee, and these resolutions set forth, you know, how that process would work, so.
Do you sit on the committees as well?
Do-
They
I-
just report to you.
Yes, my intention is that this is not a city-dominated, city-run effort. So we will be available as, we'll make staff available, potentially a council member available to those entities
Okay.
that they can use as a resource, but the goal is that they're self-functioning. Now, they do function, sorry, Ryan's looking at me cautiously. They do function as a formal committee, which means agendas, minutes,
Okay.
notices of meetings, et cetera.
Public,
How the
public,
meetings
you know,
work.
public hearings, and so you can't have these ad hoc committee members going and creating, you know, public meetings that aren't formalized by agendas. And so it'll be the same thing in terms of formalities that city council would be, that land use would be, that CDA would be.
Okay, and do we help them with that, or they're on their own for that?
They are a city committee. We have to,
Okay,
yep.
So there's funding involved.
Some city staff.
There's
have-
funding involved with that as well.
Well, there's funding involved only if you guys agree to fund it.
Facilitate the meetings.
Just to facilitate the meetings.
It's city funds that are gonna have to support these committees.
Okay.
They're a city committee, but they will not report to the council whatsoever. All of their reporting will go to the mayor or to the impact fee committee when it comes to suggestions, recommendations for the impact fee, because they have the state statute to take all that information and then they make a recommendation to you, not one of these committees.
okay,
So everything will go to the mayor. You'll never have a presentation from these committees.
okay, gotcha.
Would like to visit about Section 4 membership. In addition to what you have in front of you today, as I contemplated the membership last night and this morning, I think we need to define, well, let me back up. Item number 3 there, at least on the Planning and Development Committee, identifies one of those members will be a representative from the Building Contractors Association.
And I think that makes some sense.
And
And
yeah,
some
but
continuity all the way through. Because well, particularly this building and developers, that's where you're getting them from, is that group of people. And you need to have their input if you're gonna have their support.
Yeah, this, unique to the building and development, I think it's really industry-led, not necessarily resident-led.
Right.
So one of the thoughts I had is should we put a qualification on location of other members? Do we want them to live inside the city limits? Would we take one member that lives outside of the city limits? That was the first version that went through my head. The second version, where I would like to end up with your input, is that either they need to be a resident of our community or licensed to do business in our community. That opens up a bigger footprint of those that could participate that are industry-specific experts. I
Yes,
think we get value out of that. So if,
I do too. I would agree.
Yeah, because we may have a developer that doesn't live in Chubbuck.
Yeah, we have a number of developers that do a lot of work here that don't live here
Yeah, I like that. Resident or
or licensed to do
licensed to do
business here.
business.
Can I step beyond my invitation here and just make us, I think something like this is really good after this discussion for everybody to come back in another study session and say, hey, these are, now that we've talked about this, I understand this, these are maybe some things.
Okay.
Because I think everybody will have a different perspective on that, but anyway, that's just my thought.
No, I agree.
any other questions or input on the Building and Development Advisory Committee?
No, I'm good.
Mayor, do you have a timeline on this that you want to hit?
Tomorrow.
I knew he was going to say that.
It Probably ought to,
Ask that question before I invited myself to comment.
Ryan, I had envisioned if there wasn't much input today and the council was okay with where we're at, I would like to have it be an agenda item on the 18th.
Okay, and these resolutions can be amended if it's determined that, yeah.
Okay.
I guess anybody could reach out to you individually
Absolutely.
and,
I'd say move forward.
Yeah.
okay.
These were my first shot at it.
I think you did okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for your support on that, council. Let's go to number 7, agenda item number 7. It's really the same conversation, but it's relative to the Parks and Recreation Committee. Really, the only difference in this would be the makeup of the membership. And I have felt like, as mentioned previously, the building and development is really industry-led. I think the Parks and Rec is resident-led. So I've expanded that committee from 5 to 7 to make sure we get a larger demographic for input. And we have the same issue here to consider. Do we want members that serve on that committee to be able to reside outside of our city limits?
This is one where I don't know that that's quite as important because we're looking at parks within the city. I think it needs to be residents that are around there. I think it needs to be spread out under, the members need to be, represent various different areas of the city. And so from my perspective, that's the way I envisioned this as I read this.
And if you limit it that way, there's nothing that prohibits them from reaching out to experts in certain areas to get their input and then bring it back to the committee. So
Right.
What about a thought of one member that lives in the area of city impact?
That's fine.
So I'm just throwing this out there because I don't know, like someone like Bill Jackson
Great question.
does not live in Chubbuck, but he has a wealth of knowledge and expertise on parks and developing, and so.
I've
Well,
addressed that exact thing in
Okay.
my mind. Bill, he will be a resource expert. He won't be a
Okay.
member of the committee, but they can reach out to the city, to our parks director, gather input. Have already talked to Bill and he is happy to be that advisory expert to this committee.
Okay,
He would not be a committee member.
okay, gotcha.
Mayor, my recommendation on like the area of impact
Mhm.
is that one member, maybe. I think you could have a hard time maybe filling that. And so
Good
it
language.
allows for the opportunity if you have the right fit,
Okay.
but not the requirement. So-
Good comment. Other questions or comments from council at all on this?
No, I like the idea of doing it in districts, for lack of better words. This way we get the whole city covered, whereas just not one neighborhood that looks nice or doesn't look nice compared to what other people see. I like the input from a wide range of people on the parks as far as this is concerned.
And I think this,
Recruiting committee members.
yeah,
I have a couple that we will invite, but we'll go through the same process that we're doing now to fill the land use commission, which is an application that then is reviewed.
Okay.
And we'll select the committee members through that purpose. I mean, for example, we have 3 positions on land use that we're trying to fill. We have 8 applicants that have a desire to serve there.
Okay.
So,
I think it would be wise to put it out to the community,
yeah.
not just an internal, if you know
I do too.
someone,
Yeah.
you get a chance, but put
Good
it out on
comment.
our Facebook and our website and things like that. So people who are interested
Yeah.
have a shot at it.
I like the fact that you've mentioned that on both these committees that they have to comply with the Idaho Open Meetings Law. Because a lot of people, their perspective of a committee is, well, there's no reason why I can't go talk to a couple of people and say, hey, let's bring in something in this committee meeting. Oh, yeah, let's do that. And we just got to make sure they understand that there's a special requirement there because they are a committee within the city.
Yeah.
So,
I was just gonna say, I failed on the building and development to invite building official and the planning director, Sean, if you had input, but also Aaron. This advisory committee will answer to Aaron and I. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not worried about filling the seats. I'm worried about residents feeling like they never had an opportunity or never saw the chance to volunteer for something like that. So,
Thank you, Aaron.
seems to me like we had a discussion, maybe late summer, early fall of last year about Parks and Recreation, specifically how we can attract more tournaments and that type of thing to the city. And there were a lot of citizens present at that council meeting, and I can't remember what the outcome was, except that there were suggestions as to certain committees to focus on different things to bring that result about. And I wish I could remember when the meeting was, but I thought some really good things came out of that. And, you know, we just saw the power of groupthink right there in the city council meeting as they said, we should have this focus and this one, and this one. I would like to see if we can't maybe find the minutes of that, because some great ideas. I don't know.
Joy, do you know what he's speaking to? What meeting?
Yeah, it was the study session when we talked about the baseball program, the softball program,
Okay.
how the city wanted to grow and expand and run those programs. It was pretty much filled with baseball members
Yes.
in that meeting.
Yeah,
Aaron, were you part of that? Do you recall?
Yes, that was good.
Okay.
okay.
I remember, yeah, it was just, there was just a lot of support.
Yep.
For the program as well.
Yep. But there were some specifics as to how we can expand it now and get more revenue coming in from out of the city. And
Yeah.
I really like to preserve that if we can look at it again and.
Some of the suggestions that we were talking about,
Mhm.
outreach.
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
We were talking about promoting more. Creating the all-star tournament, so it's first year.
Great. Glad
Because, well, just
some
to
positive
follow up,
results.
no, go ahead, you could, just to follow up on what he's saying, though, too, it's not just the baseball tournaments, but also soccer tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
And too bad we don't have indoor facilities, you know, we could do volleyball and basketball, that'd be awesome, but,
That sounds like a precursor to some idea that's
we were
coming
just
down.
talking about earlier, so, not here no more, anyway, and, the was talking to one of the people involved with the softball tournaments. They, even one softball tournament will bring in for that one sponsor, what, $50,000 for one 3-day tournament.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And when I was talking to him, I'm thinking, where can we get, for lack of a better words, get our cut of that to offset our costs as well, a little bit more, maybe even be a money maker, revenue maker for the city as well. These tournaments, I think, can do that to offset possibly also the maintenance and so forth. But again, that's something we have, that commission, that group is gonna have to work out. Just those good ideas, I think. Just a thought.
So I'm going to go back to Ryan's question. My hope is to pass resolutions on the 18 with council's support, and it's probably 30+ days before we're instituting and having our first meeting. The first meeting I envision being very focused on us directing them on their role and the limitations of what they can and can't do and the regulations that they must adhere to with the open meeting law. And then we'll just charge forward.
There's some pretty good publications I think the AG's office would have that you could get and let them just review it. You know, you give them kind of a summary at the beginning and say, here's some more, if you have any questions. They have pretty good,
Think that.
what's that?
Association of Idaho Cities has actually some
Yeah,
really
AIC
good
has
training.
some great resources. I actually think a lot of times verbal instruction that talks about actually in application probably helps internalize a little bit more.
Right. I was just saying, have them take something back with them so they can, you know, refer to it. But yeah,
Yeah, they definitely will need some instruction on that.
Thank you for your support, council, in moving these items forward. I sincerely appreciate it.
Just a random thought that occurred also is with this Recreation Advisory Committee. I think we may have discussed this as far as a recreation district. Maybe get Pocatello involved as well, because we already work with them as far as the Little League Baseball is concerned.
Mhm.
Maybe get that going as well with them. Co-commission with those guys. Just a thought.
Thank you.
I'm all for it. So.
General announcements. I want to share with council an invitation. I know Joey has been reaching out to you to see if you have any agenda items that you want to add. This study session each month, I really believe is your time. If you have agenda items, if you have any items that you just want to bring up and speak to, as Roger just did, would you please let Joey know, and we'll include those in our study session. My goal is to not cancel study sessions because of lack of things to discuss. I think we have plenty to fill that time, although we only took an hour of our 2 hours today. So. Any announcements or comments from the council?
No.
We are adjourned then until 6 o'clock.